The notification sound from my wife's phone cut through the silence of our bedroom at 2:47 a.m. I knew because I'd been staring at the ceiling for hours, listening to Lila's breathing beside me. She stirred, grabbed her phone, and I watched the blue glow illuminate her face as she smiled at whatever message had just arrived. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Who's texting you this late?" I asked, my voice hoarse from another sleepless night. "Just Sarah from the cafe. Kitchen equipment issues." She set the phone face down on her nightstand, but not before I caught a glimpse of the name on the screen. Chad. "My name is Jonah Pierce, and I'm a flight instructor at Pacific Northwest Aviation. For 15 years, I've taught nervous students how to handle turbulence, how to stay calm when everything goes wrong in the cockpit. But nothing prepared me for the turbulence in my own marriage. I'd been suspicious for weeks. Lila's behavior had changed dramatically since her brother Chad moved to town. She'd become secretive, constantly on her phone, making excuses to leave the house. Our 11-year-old son Ethan had grown quiet and withdrawn, spending more time in his room. The next morning, I found Lila in the kitchen, already dressed and applying makeup at 6 a.m. She never wore makeup to work at her cafe. "You're up early," I said, pouring coffee into my favorite mug, the one Ethan had given me last Father's Day with "World's Best Dad" painted in his careful handwriting. "Chad's helping me move some furniture at the cafe today. Heavy stuff." She avoided my eyes, focusing intently on her reflection in her phone's camera. Chad Rayner wasn't actually Lila's brother. He was her ex-boyfriend from college, who'd recently divorced and moved to our Pacific Northwest town of Millbrook. Lila had insisted on helping him get back on his feet after his messy breakup. At first, I'd been supportive. The guy seemed down on his luck, and Lila had a generous heart, or so I thought. "Need any help? I don't have students until noon." "No, we've got it handled." Her tone was sharp, defensive. I watched her grab her keys and purse, noting how she'd started dressing differently lately. Tighter clothes, more attention to her appearance. She paused at the door. "I might be late tonight. Inventory." After she left, I sat in our kitchen, surrounded by 15 years of marriage. Photos of our wedding, Ethan's school pictures, vacation memories, all of it felt like a lie now. My phone buzzed. A text from my neighbor, Rick Kowalski. "Saw Chad's truck in your driveway yesterday when you were at work. Thought you should know." I'd been at the airport all day yesterday, training a student pilot through emergency procedures. Lila had said she was at the cafe. I called the cafe. Sarah, Lila's employee, answered. "Hey, Jonah, Lila's not here. She left around noon yesterday and never came back. Is everything okay?" Everything was definitely not okay. I drove to Chad's apartment complex, a rundown place on the outskirts of town. Lila's car wasn't there, but I noticed something else: beer bottles and takeout containers littering his balcony. For someone supposedly struggling financially, he seemed to be living pretty comfortably. That evening, Lila came home with a story about inventory taking longer than expected. She was showered and changed, her hair still damp. The cafe didn't have shower facilities. "How'd the furniture moving go?" I asked casually. "Fine. Chad's stronger than he looks." She busied herself in the kitchen, avoiding eye contact. "Rick mentioned seeing Chad's truck here yesterday." She froze, her back to me. He must be mistaken. Must be. That night, I lay awake planning. In aviation, we call it situational awareness, understanding all the factors affecting your flight before making critical decisions. I needed more information before confronting this situation head-on. The next day, while Lila was genuinely at the cafe, I searched our home office. Hidden in her desk drawer underneath old receipts, I found a prepaid cell phone I'd never seen before. The message history made my stomach turn. Text after text between Lila and Chad. Not just emotional affair territory, This was full-blown betrayal. Messages about meeting at hotels, complaints about me, discussions about money, my money, our money. One message thread from last week made my hands shake. Chad. When are you going to tell him? Lila. Soon. After I figure out the cafe situation, I need to make sure I'm protected financially. Chad. The sooner the better. I'm tired of sneaking around. Lila. Patience. Jonah's not stupid. We have to be smart about this. I photographed every message, then carefully put the phone back exactly where I'd found it. That evening at dinner, I watched my wife serve spaghetti to our son, chatting about his day at school, asking about his upcoming science project. She seemed so normal, so caring. How long had she been living this double life? Dad, are you okay? Ethan asked. You look sad. Just tired, buddy. Long day at work. But Ethan was perceptive. He'd inherited that from me. Over the next few days, I noticed him watching both Lila and me more carefully, as if he sensed the tension building in our house. Friday night, Lila announced she was going out with her friend Barb. Girls' night. We're trying that new wine bar downtown. I nodded, kissed her cheek, and told her to have fun. After she left, I called Barb. Oh, hi, Jonah. Is Lila okay? She canceled on me last minute, said she wasn't feeling well. Another lie. I was building quite a collection. I put Ethan to bed early, then drove downtown. It didn't take long to find Lila's car parked outside the Riverside Hotel. Through the lobby windows, I saw her and Chad at the bar, sitting close together, his hand on her thigh. I sat in my truck in the parking lot, rain pattering on the windshield, watching my marriage dissolve through a hotel window. They looked happy, relaxed, like a real couple. My phone rang. Lila. Hey, honey, just wanted to check in. Barb had a few too many wines, so I might be late getting her home safely. That's thoughtful of you, I said, watching her laugh at something Chad whispered in her ear. Drive carefully. Love you. Yeah, love you too. I drove home and waited. She returned at midnight, smelling like hotel soap and Chad's cologne. Saturday morning, I made my decision. While Lila slept in, I took Ethan to his soccer game. During halftime, I pulled him aside. Ethan, I need to ask you something important, and I need you to be honest with me. His face grew serious. Okay, Dad. Has Chad ever been to our house when I wasn't home? Ethan looked down at his cleats. Mom said not to tell you. My heart sank. What did she say exactly? She said Chad was helping with stuff around the house, but it might make you feel bad because you're always working. She said it was better if it was our secret. Teaching an 11-year-old to lie to his father. That crossed a line I hadn't even known existed. Ethan, you never have to keep secrets from me, ever. Okay? He nodded, relief washing over his face. Dad, I don't like Chad very much. Why not? He's mean to Mom sometimes. He yells at her when he thinks I can't hear. And he ate the last of my ice cream without asking. Ice cream theft might seem minor, but it painted a picture of someone who didn't respect boundaries. Someone who took what he wanted without asking. That afternoon, I decided to end this charade. I called Lila while she was at the cafe. Hey, I was thinking we should have Chad over for dinner tomorrow night. I feel like I barely know him, and if he's going to be around helping you so much, we should be friends. Long pause. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? I'll grill steaks. We can watch the game. Chad's busy tomorrow. What about tonight then? Jonah, why are you pushing this? Because my wife is spending a lot of time with another man, and I'd like to get to know him better. Is that unreasonable? Another pause. We'll talk about this when I get home. But we didn't talk about it. Lila came home late again, claiming inventory issues, and went straight to bed claiming a headache. Sunday morning, I made breakfast for the family. Pancakes, bacon, fresh coffee. Ethan chatted about his upcoming school field trip, while Lila picked at her food, checking her hidden phone every few minutes. So, I said, cutting into my pancakes, I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday. Lila's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. I think we should invite Chad for dinner this week. Maybe Wednesday? I told you he's busy. Busy with what? I thought he was between jobs. Ethan looked back and forth between us, sensing the tension. Can I be excused? He asked quietly. Finish your breakfast first, buddy. Lila stood up abruptly. I need to go to the cafe, Sunday inventory. You just did inventory Friday night. There were discrepancies. After she left, Ethan helped me clear the dishes. Dad, are you and Mom fighting? I considered lying, protecting him from adult problems, but Lila had already involved him in deception. He deserved honesty. We're having some disagreements, yes, but whatever happens, it's not your fault, and both Mom and I love you very much. He nodded solemnly. Is it because of Chad? Smart kid. Partly, yes. Good. I was hoping you'd notice. That afternoon, I made a decision that would change everything. I drove to Chad's apartment complex and knocked on his door. He answered wearing a bathrobe at 2 p.m., looking surprised and guilty. Jonah, hey man, what's up? We need to talk. Now's not really a good time. Make time. I pushed past him into his apartment. It was nicer than I'd expected. New furniture, expensive electronics, fresh groceries. For someone supposedly struggling financially, Chad was living well. Look, whatever Lila told you, Lila didn't tell me anything. That's the problem. Chad ran his hand through his hair, clearly trying to figure out how much I knew. I think there's been some misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding is that you thought I was stupid. I pulled out my phone and showed him photos of the text messages I'd found. His face went white. Jonah, I can explain. Explain what? That you're sleeping with my wife? That you're planning to help her leave me? That you've been using my money to fund your lifestyle? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Chad? He sat down heavily on his expensive couch. Look, these things happen. Lila's unhappy. She has been for years. So you decided to help her with that unhappiness. I didn't plan this. It just developed. In my house, while I was at work, with my son watching. That hit home. Chad looked genuinely uncomfortable for the first time. We never meant for Ethan to. But he did. And now he's keeping secrets from his father because you two couldn't keep your hands off each other. I stood up, looking down at this man who'd destroyed my family. Here's what's going to happen, Chad. You're going to end this affair. Today. You're going to tell Lila it's over, and you're going to stay away from my family. Chad stood up too, trying to match my energy. And if I don't? Then I'll make sure everyone in this town knows exactly what kind of man you are. Starting with your ex-wife, who I'm sure would be very interested to know why your marriage really ended. You can't prove anything. I held up my phone again. I can prove everything. We stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Chad looked away. Fine, I'll talk to Lila. No, you'll end it. There's a difference. I headed for the door, then turned back. And Chad? If I find out you've been in my house again, or around my son, we'll have a different kind of conversation. Chad didn't end it. Instead, he told Lila about our confrontation, and she came home that night ready for war. How dare you go to Chad's apartment and threaten him? Ethan was in his room, supposedly doing homework, but I could see his door was cracked open. He was listening. Let's take this outside, I said. No, this is my house too, and I want to talk about this right now. Our son is upstairs. Our son will have to get used to some changes around here. That phrase chilled me. Changes. She'd already decided to leave. What kind of changes, Lila? She crossed her arms, defensive, but determined. I'm not happy, Jonah. I haven't been happy for a long time. So you decided to have an affair instead of talking to me about it. It's not an affair, it's complicated. It's adultery. Pretty simple, actually. Chad understands me. He listens to me. He makes me feel alive again. With my money, in my house, while lying to my son. It's not about money. Really? Because your text messages suggest otherwise. Her face flushed. You went through my phone? I found your burner phone. The one you've been using to coordinate hotel meetings and complain about your husband. She sat down hard on the couch, realizing how much I knew. Jonah, I was going to tell you. When? After you figured out how to take half of everything I've worked for? That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been having this conversation before you started sleeping with another man. Fair would have been not involving our son in your lies. Tears started flowing, but I was past the point where Lila's tears affected me. I never meant for it to happen this way. But it did happen this way, and now we have to deal with the consequences. The next morning, Lila was gone before I woke up. She'd left a note saying she was staying at Barb's house until we could work things out. She'd also taken 2 suitcases and cleaned out our joint checking account. I called my lawyer, Dave Morrison, who I'd known since college. Jonah, I'm sorry to hear about this. How can I help? I need to protect my assets and make sure I maintain custody of Ethan. Do you have evidence of the affair? Text messages, photographs, witnesses? Good. That will help with the divorce proceedings. Washington is a no-fault state, but adultery can still affect asset division and custody decisions. What should I do first? Document everything. Keep copies of all evidence. Don't do anything that could be construed as harassment or intimidation. Too late for that advice, but I didn't mention my visit to Chad's apartment. That afternoon, I picked up Ethan from school. He was quiet during the drive home. Is Mom coming back? He finally asked. I don't know, buddy. We're going through some grown-up problems right now. Because of Chad. It's more complicated than that. No, it's not, Ethan said with startling clarity. Mom likes Chad more than she likes us. Out of the mouths of babes. That evening, my friend Ben Martinez called. Ben and I had been friends since high school, and he ran an auto repair shop in town. Hey man, I heard about you and Lila. I'm sorry. Word travels fast in small towns. Thanks, Ben. Listen, there's something you should know. Chad's been bringing his truck to my shop for work. Expensive work. New tires, custom sound system, performance upgrades. Paid cash every time. Cash? Yeah, and he was bragging about having a sugar mama who was taking care of him. I didn't put it together until I heard about your situation. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was funding her boyfriend's lifestyle with our money. There's something else, Ben continued. Chad's been telling people around town that you're abusive, that Lila's afraid of you. That's a lie. I know that, and anyone who knows you knows that. But he's been spreading it around, probably trying to justify what they're doing. This was getting worse by the hour. The next day, I stopped by the cafe to see Lila. Sarah was working the counter and looked uncomfortable when I walked in. Is Lila here? She's in the back office. I found Lila doing paperwork, or pretending to. She looked up when I entered, and I could see she'd been crying. We need to talk about Ethan, I said. What about him? He's confused and hurt. Whatever problems you and I have, he doesn't deserve to be caught in the middle. I would never hurt Ethan. You already have. You taught him to lie to me. You've turned his world upside down. I'm trying to figure out what's best for everyone. What's best for everyone is honesty. What's best for Ethan is stability. I can provide stability. With Chad, a man who's been spreading lies about me around town? Lila looked genuinely surprised. What lies? He's been telling people I'm abusive, that you're afraid of me. I never told him that. Then why is he saying it? She didn't have an answer. Lila, I've never laid a hand on you or Ethan in anger. You know that. Everyone who knows me knows that. I know, she said quietly. Then you need to tell Chad to stop spreading those rumors before they damage my reputation and my business. I'll talk to him. You'll do more than talk to him. You'll make it clear that if he continues to lie about me, there will be consequences. That weekend, those consequences came to me instead. I was at the Drunken Otter, a local bar where I'd been meeting friends for years, trying to maintain some normalcy in my life. Tom Bradley and Mike Stevens, guys I'd known since high school, were there when I arrived. "Hey, Jonah," Tom said, but his greeting was cooler than usual. "Hey, guys, how's it going?" "Fine," Mike said, not making eye contact. I ordered a beer and tried to join their conversation about the upcoming football season, but something was off. They were polite but distant, like they were uncomfortable being around me. Finally, Tom spoke up. "Jonah, we heard about you and Lila." "Yeah, we're going through a rough patch." "We heard it was more than that," Mike said. "We heard you've been aggressive with her." My beer glass stopped halfway to my mouth. "What?" "Look, man, we've all been under stress in our marriages," Tom said, "but there are lines you don't cross. I have never been aggressive with Lila. Who told you that?" Tom and Mike exchanged glances. "Chad Rayner came by the shop yesterday," Tom said. "He owned a hardware store downtown. He was asking about restraining orders, said his friend was being threatened by her husband. His friend being my wife. He didn't mention names, but you put it together. Jonah, if you're having problems, there are people who can help," Mike said. "Counselors, anger management." "I don't need anger management." I stood up, my voice louder than intended. Several other patrons turned to look. Tom and Mike leaned back, and I realized how my outburst looked. If they already believed I was aggressive, raising my voice just confirmed their suspicions. I sat back down, forcing my voice to stay calm. "Guys, I understand why you might be concerned, but I'm telling you, I have never been violent or threatening toward Lila. Chad is lying." "Why would he lie about something like that?" Mike asked. "Because he's sleeping with my wife, and he needs to justify it somehow." Tom and Mike looked skeptical. "Think about it," I continued. "You've known me for 20 years. Have I ever been violent? Have I ever lost my temper in a way that scared you?" They considered this, but I could see doubt in their eyes. "People change," Tom said finally. "Divorce can make people do things they never thought they'd do." I finished my beer and stood up. "You're right, it can, but I haven't changed. Chad is lying to cover his own ass, and apparently it's working." I left the bar, realizing that my reputation in this town was being systematically destroyed by a man who was stealing my wife and my money. The next week was hell. Everywhere I went in town, I felt people staring, whispering. Chad's lies were spreading faster than I could counter them. My flight students started canceling lessons. Parents didn't want their kids learning from someone they thought might be abusive. I was losing my marriage, my friends, and now my livelihood. That's when I decided to stop playing defense and start playing offense. I called Dave Morrison again. "Dave, I need to know what my legal options are regarding Chad Rayner." "What kind of options?" "He's spreading false information about me that's damaging my reputation and my business." "That could be defamation, but it's hard to prove unless you have witnesses or recordings." "What if I could get recordings?" "Jonah, be very careful here. Washington is a two-party consent state for recordings. If you record someone without their knowledge, it could be illegal." "What about public places?" "That's different. If someone's speaking in a public place where they don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy, recording might be legal. But check with me before you do anything." I had an idea forming. That evening, I called Ben Martinez. "Ben, I need a favor." "Name it." "I need you to get Chad talking. About me, about Lila, about what he's been telling people." "How?" "Invite him for drinks. Get him comfortable. Men like Chad love to brag. And then what? Then we'll see what kind of man he really is. Ben was quiet for a moment. Jonah, I've known you since we were kids. You're not the kind of guy who plays games. I'm not playing games anymore, Ben. I'm fighting for my life. Friday night, Ben called Chad and invited him to the Drunken Otter. Heard you're new in town. Thought I'd buy you a beer, introduce you around. I arrived an hour later and sat at the opposite end of the bar, close enough to hear but far enough away to avoid immediate confrontation. I had my phone's voice recorder app ready. Chad was already drunk and talking loudly. The problem with guys like Jonah Pierce is they think they own their wives, he was saying to Ben and a few other guys who'd gathered around. Lila's been living in fear for years. Fear of what? Ben asked, playing his part perfectly. The guy's got a serious temper, throws things, punches walls, screams at her in front of their kid. Every word was a lie, but Chad was telling it with conviction. She showed me bruises, Chad continued. On her arms, her shoulders, said he grabbed her during an argument. I'd never grabbed Lila in my life, never even raised my voice to her until this whole mess started. That's terrible, Ben said. What's she going to do? She's going to leave him. Already moved out. I'm helping her through it. That's good of you. Yeah, well, I care about her. We have history, you know. College sweethearts. I always wondered what would have happened if we'd stayed together. So you're not just helping her as a friend. Chad grinned, the alcohol making him careless. Let's just say I'm providing all kinds of support. The guys around him laughed knowingly. Must be expensive, supporting 2 households, Ben observed. Nah, Lila's got money, her cafe does well, and she's got access to Jonah's accounts. The guy makes good money teaching rich kids to fly. So she's helping you out financially? Hey, she offered. Said it was the least she could do after I helped her see what her marriage really was. Ben glanced toward me, and I nodded. I had enough. I stood up and walked over to their group. Evening, gentlemen. The conversation stopped. Chad's face went pale. Jonah, Ben said, acting surprised. Didn't see you come in. Just got here. Couldn't help but overhear your conversation, Chad. I don't know what you think you heard. I heard you telling lies about me to anyone who'll listen. The other men started to back away, sensing confrontation. They're not lies, Chad said, but his voice lacked conviction. Really? Show me these bruises you claim Lila has. What? You said she showed you bruises I gave her. I want to see them. I'm not going to, because they don't exist, just like your story about me being abusive. Chad stood up, swaying slightly. Everyone in this town knows what you are. What am I, Chad? You're a controlling, violent man who can't handle losing his wife to someone better. The bar had gone quiet. Everyone was watching. Someone better? I laughed. You mean someone who lives off my money? Someone who has to lie about me to justify stealing my wife? I don't need to justify anything to you. No, but you might need to justify it to the police. Chad's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Defamation, filing false reports, fraud. You've been busy, Chad. You can't prove anything. I held up my phone. Actually, I can. Chad lunged at me, but 15 years of staying calm under pressure in aircraft cockpits had taught me how to handle panic. I sidestepped, and Chad stumbled into a table, sending drinks crashing to the floor. The bartender, Jerry, came around the bar. That's enough. Both of you out. I was just leaving, I said calmly. Chad, you might want to think about what we discussed. I walked out of the bar with everyone staring. Behind me, I could hear Jerry telling Chad he was banned for starting fights. The next morning, I had a visitor. Officer Lisa Jensen from the Millbrook Police Department knocked on my door at 8 a.m. Mr. Pierce, I need to speak with you about an incident at the Drunken Otter last night. Of course. Come in. Officer Jensen was professional but thorough. Chad Rayner filed a complaint saying you threatened him and recorded him without permission. I recorded a conversation in a public place where he was speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. Is that illegal? Not necessarily. What kind of threats did you make? I told him he might need to justify his actions to police. Considering he's been spreading false information about me, I'd say that was accurate. What kind of false information? I played her the recording. Her expression grew more serious as she listened to Chad's lies about abuse and bruises. Mr. Pierce, has your wife ever filed a complaint against you for domestic violence? No, because I've never been violent toward her. Has she ever sought medical treatment for injuries you allegedly caused? No, because I've never injured her. Officer Jensen made notes. Mr. Rayner mentioned that your wife has moved out due to fear. My wife has moved out because she's having an affair with Mr. Rayner. The fear story is something he made up to justify their relationship. Can you prove the affair? I showed her the text messages I'd photographed. Officer Jensen studied them carefully. Mr. Pierce, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a complicated situation. While Mr. Rayner's statements could constitute defamation, proving intent and damages is difficult. However, if he continues to file false reports, that could be a different matter. What do you suggest I do? Document everything. Don't engage with Mr. Rayner directly. Let your lawyer handle communications, and if anyone else corroborates his stories about abuse, we'll need to investigate. After she left, I realized I was at a crossroads. I could continue trying to defend myself against Chad's lies, or I could go on the offensive and expose him for what he really was. I chose offense. Monday morning, I drove to the cafe. It was time for the nuclear option. Lila was behind the counter when I walked in. The morning rush was in full swing, with a dozen customers waiting for coffee and pastries. Jonah, what are you doing here? We need to talk, now. I'm working. This won't take long. I pulled out my phone and played Chad's recording from the bar, loud enough for everyone to hear. Lila's got money. Her cafe does well, and she's got access to Jonah's accounts. The guy makes good money teaching rich kids to fly. The cafe went silent. Customers stopped talking, Sarah stopped making coffee, and Lila's face went white. Hey, she offered. Said it was the least she could do after I helped her see what her marriage really was. I stopped the recording. Anything you'd like to explain to your customers, Lila? Jonah, please. Please what? Please don't let people know that your boyfriend is bragging about spending my money. Please don't mention that he's been telling the whole town I'm abusive. Mrs. Henderson, one of the cafe's regular customers, spoke up. Lila, is this true? Lila looked around at the faces staring at her. It's complicated. It's not complicated, I said. My wife is having an affair with a man who's been lying about me to justify it. A man who's living off the money she's been taking from our joint accounts. I pulled out a bank statement. $1,200 last month. $800 the month before. All cash withdrawals that went straight to Chad Rayner. That's private information, Lila protested. It was private until your boyfriend started bragging about it in bars. Sarah, who'd been listening with growing horror, spoke up. Lila, you told me you were taking cash advances for cafe supplies. I was... No, you weren't, I said. You were funding your boyfriend's lifestyle while he destroyed my reputation. Mr. Peterson, another regular, shook his head. This is disgusting. I've known Jonah for years. He's never been anything but respectful. Other customers began murmuring agreement. The tide was turning. Everyone, please, Lila said desperately. There are two sides to every story. Then tell your side, I challenged. Explain the text messages planning your exit strategy. Explain the hotel receipts. Explain why you taught our son to lie to me. The mention of Ethan hit home with the customers, many of whom had children. Mrs. Henderson stood up. I've heard enough. Lila, I won't be coming back. She walked out, and several other customers followed. Jonah, you're destroying my business, Lila cried. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just telling the truth. Sarah pulled off her apron. Lila, I can't work for someone who lies to me. I quit. She walked out too, leaving Lila alone behind the counter, with the remaining customers staring at her. This is what happens when you let other people tell your story, I said quietly. Chad's been telling his version all over town. I thought it was time people heard mine. I left the cafe and drove to Chad's apartment. His truck was there, freshly washed and detailed, with my money. I knocked on his door. When he answered, he looked like he'd been drinking. What do you want? I want you to leave town. Chad laughed. You can't make me leave. Actually, I can. I handed him a folder. Defamation lawsuit. Filed this morning. My lawyer estimates I can prove at least $50,000 in damages to my business and reputation. Chad's smile faded as he read the papers. You can't prove I lied about anything. I have recordings of you admitting you made up the abuse stories. I have witnesses who'll testify that you bragged about spending my money. And I have a very good lawyer. Lila will back up everything I said. Will she? Because I just played your recording at her cafe in front of all her customers. She's not having a very good day. Chad's face went red. You bastard. Here's the deal, Chad. You have 48 hours to leave town. If you're still here Wednesday morning, I'll not only pursue the lawsuit, I'll also file charges for filing false police reports and fraud. You can't prove fraud. You took money from Lila that she stole from our joint accounts. That's theft by deception. Want to test me? Chad stared at the lawsuit papers, then at me. What about Lila? What about her? She's leaving you anyway. This doesn't change anything between us. Maybe. But she'll be leaving you too once she realizes you've been bragging about using her for money. I could see the wheels turning in Chad's head. He was calculating odds, weighing options. 48 hours, I repeated. After that, this gets very expensive for you. I walked back to my truck, leaving Chad standing in his doorway with the lawsuit papers. That evening, Ethan came home from school upset. Dad, kids at school are saying mean things about Mom. What kind of things? That she's a cheater, that she stole money. I sat down with my son, trying to figure out how to handle this. Ethan, your mom made some bad choices, but she's still your mom, and she loves you. Do you still love her? I love the person I thought she was. I'm not sure that person exists anymore. Are you getting divorced? Probably, yes. Ethan was quiet for a long time. Will I still get to see Mom? Of course. Whatever happens between your mom and me, you'll always have both of us. What about Chad? What about him? Will he be my stepdad? The thought of Chad raising my son made my stomach turn. I don't know, buddy. But if he is, and if he ever treats you badly, you tell me immediately. He's not very nice, Dad. What do you mean? He yells at Mom a lot, and he told me I was spoiled because I have my own room. Another piece of Chad's character revealed. Tuesday evening, Lila called. Jonah, we need to talk. I'm listening. You destroyed my cafe. Sarah quit, half my customers aren't coming back, and I can't run it by myself. You destroyed your cafe when you decided to steal money from it to support your boyfriend. I never stole anything. That was our money. It was our money that you gave to another man without discussing it with me. I was going to pay it back. With what? The cafe that's now failing because your customers found out you're a liar? Lila was quiet for a moment. Chad's leaving town. Good choice on his part. He said you threatened to sue him. I didn't threaten. I filed. Jonah, this has gone too far. It went too far the first time you slept with him in our bed. How did you... I found the hotel receipts, Lila. But I also found the credit card charges for new sheets and pillowcases. You couldn't even respect our home. She started crying. I never meant for it to happen this way. But it did happen this way. And now we all have to live with the consequences. What happens now? Now you decide what kind of person you want to be. The kind who takes responsibility for her choices, or the kind who blames everyone else. Wednesday morning, Chad's truck was gone from his apartment complex. The manager confirmed he'd broken his lease and left town. That afternoon, Dave Morrison called. Jonah, Chad Rayner's lawyer, contacted me. He's willing to sign a statement retracting his claims about you and admitting they were false in exchange for dropping the lawsuit. What kind of statement? Full retraction, admission that he made false claims, and agreement never to contact you or your family again. And if he violates the agreement? Automatic judgment for damages plus contempt charges. Draw it up. Friday evening, I was at the Drunken Otter when Tom and Mike walked in. They approached my table hesitantly. Jonah, Tom said, we owe you an apology. You heard about Chad's retraction? Yeah. We should have known better. Should have trusted what we knew about you instead of believing some stranger. Mike nodded. We've known you for 20 years. You've never been anything but a good guy. People believe what they want to believe, I said. And sometimes what they want to believe is that someone else is worse than they are. Are you going to forgive us? Tom asked. I considered this. These men had been my friends for decades, but they'd abandoned me when I needed them most. I'll forgive you, I said finally, but I won't forget. When things got tough, you chose to believe the worst about me instead of standing by me. That's fair, Mike said. Next round's on us, Tom offered. Thanks, but I'm good. I finished my beer and left. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Saturday morning, Lila came by the house to get more of her things. Ethan was at soccer practice, so it was just the two of us. The cafe's closing, she said. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because you're the one who destroyed it. I told the truth, Lila. If the truth destroyed your business, maybe the business was built on lies. She packed her things in silence for a while. I'm moving back to Seattle, she said finally. My sister said I can stay with her until I figure things out. What about Ethan? I want joint custody. We'll work something out. I never meant to hurt you, Jonah. I looked at this woman I'd loved for 15 years, this stranger who'd destroyed our family. Yes, you did. Maybe not at first. But every day you chose to continue the affair, every lie you told, every dollar you stole, those were all choices to hurt me. I was unhappy, so you decided to make me unhappy too. Mission accomplished. She finished packing and headed for the door. Jonah? Yeah? Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I considered the question. I don't know. But I know I'll never trust you again. After she left, I sat in our empty house, surrounded by 15 years of memories. Photos still hung on the walls, Ethan's artwork still covered the refrigerator, but it all felt different now. My phone rang. It was Officer Jensen. Mr. Pierce, I wanted to let you know that Chad Rayner has officially retracted his complaints. The file is closed. Thank you. For what it's worth, I never believed his stories. I've been doing this job for 10 years, and I can usually tell the difference between real victims and people playing games. I appreciate that. Take care of yourself, Mr. Pierce. That evening, Ethan and I made dinner together. Spaghetti and meatballs, his favorite. Dad, is Mom really moving to Seattle? Yes, she is. Will I have to move too? No, buddy. You'll stay here with me, but you'll visit Mom regularly. Good. I don't want to leave my friends. You won't have to. Dad? Yeah? I'm proud of you. Why? Because you didn't let the bad guys win. I hugged my son, this wise 11-year-old who'd watched his world fall apart, but still believed in good guys and bad guys. Thanks, buddy. That means everything to me. Sunday morning, I was reading the paper when the doorbell rang. It was Ben Martinez. Hey, man. How are you holding up? I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. Good. Listen, I wanted to tell you something. After everything that happened with Chad, I've been thinking about trust, about friendship. Yeah? You trusted me to help you, even when you were going through hell. That means something. You came through when I needed you. That means something too. I heard Tom and Mike tried to apologize. They did. But you're not ready to forgive them. Maybe someday, but not today. Ben nodded. I get it. Some things can't be undone. No, they can't. Well, if you need anything at all, you call me. I will. Thanks, Ben. After he left, I realized something important. I hadn't just survived Lila's betrayal and Chad's lies. I'd discovered who my real friends were. I'd learned what I was capable of when pushed to my limits. And I'd shown my son that sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even when it's hard. Monday morning, I returned to work at the aviation school. My boss, Captain Williams, called me into his office. Jonah, I heard about your personal situation. How are you doing? Better, sir. Much better. Good. I also heard that some of our clients had concerns about allegations that were made. Those allegations have been officially retracted, and the person who made them has left town. Excellent, because you're one of our best instructors, and we'd hate to lose you over false accusations. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your support. Just keep doing what you're doing. Your students respect you, and so do we. I spent the day in the cockpit with nervous student pilots, teaching them how to handle turbulence, how to stay calm when everything goes wrong. It felt good to be back to normal, back to doing something I was good at. That afternoon, I picked up Ethan from school. He was excited about his upcoming science project and chattered about it all the way home. Normal kid problems, normal kid excitement. It was exactly what we both needed. As we pulled into our driveway, Ethan asked, Dad, are you happy now? I thought about it. My marriage was over. My reputation had been damaged. Some of my friendships were destroyed. But I was free from lies, free from betrayal, free from people who didn't value me. Yeah, buddy, I think I am happy. Or at least, I'm going to be. Good. You deserve to be happy. That evening, I made a decision. I called Dave Morrison. Dave, I want to proceed with the divorce. Full custody of Ethan, division of assets according to Washington state law, and I want it done quickly. What about reconciliation? Sometimes couples work through infidelity. There's nothing to reconcile. Lila made her choice, and I've made mine. Understood. I'll draw up the papers. One more thing. I want a clause that prevents her from bringing Chad or any future boyfriends around Ethan without my approval. That might be difficult to enforce. Then make it a condition of custody. If she wants to see our son, she keeps her love life separate. I'll see what I can do. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers were finalized. Lila signed them without contest, perhaps realizing she had no leverage left. She moved to Seattle, took a job at a restaurant, and began the process of rebuilding her life. Ethan and I settled into our new routine: homework at the kitchen table, weekend trips to the aviation museum, teaching him to change oil in my truck. Normal father-son activities that had been interrupted by months of drama and lies. One evening, while we were working on his science project about aerodynamics, Ethan looked up from his model airplane. Dad, do you miss Mom? I miss the person I thought she was. But I don't miss the lying and the fighting. Me neither. Do you miss her? Sometimes. But I like it better when it's just us. It's quieter. Yeah, it is. Dad? Yeah, buddy? Next time you get married, can you pick someone who likes airplanes? I laughed. I'll keep that in mind. 6 months later, I was at the Drunken Otter with Ben, celebrating Ethan's straight A report card, when a familiar face walked in. Chad Rayner. He looked different, thinner, scruffier, like he'd been having a hard time. He saw me immediately and froze. I stood up and walked over to him. Chad. Jonah, I thought you should know I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm just passing through. Good to hear. I wanted to apologize. For everything. The lies, the affair, all of it. I studied his face. He looked genuinely remorseful, but I'd learned not to trust appearances. Apology noted. I know you probably don't believe me, but I am sorry. What I did was wrong. Yes, It was. How's Ethan? He's fine, happy, doing well in school. Chad nodded. And Lila? Ask her yourself. She's in Seattle. We don't talk anymore. Smart choice. Chad looked around the bar, then back at me. I heard you got full custody. I did. That's good. You're a good father. Better than I would have been. You're right about that. Chad extended his hand. I know you have no reason to, but I hope someday you can forgive me. I looked at his outstretched hand for a long moment, then shook it briefly. I've forgiven you, Chad, but that doesn't mean I trust you or want you in my life. I understand. Good luck with whatever comes next. Chad nodded and left the bar. I returned to my table where Ben was waiting. How do you feel? Ben asked. Free, I said. Finally, completely free. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, Ethan and I moved into a new house across town. Fresh start, new memories to make. The old house had too many ghosts. On moving day, as we packed the last boxes, Ethan found an old photo album. Look, Dad, remember this? It was a picture from our last family vacation, before everything fell apart. Lila, Ethan, and me at the beach, all smiles and sunscreen. We looked happy. We were happy then, I said. Yeah, but we're happy now too. Different happy. Better happy? Ethan considered this seriously. Yeah, better happy. I ruffled his hair. Come on, let's go see our new house. As we drove away from the old neighborhood, I caught sight of the drunken otter in my rearview mirror, the place where Chad had lied about me, where I'd confronted him, where I'd learned who my real friends were. I didn't feel anger anymore when I thought about what had happened. I felt something better, satisfaction. I'd been tested, pushed to my limits, and I'd come through it stronger. My phone buzzed with a text from one of my flight students. Thanks for the great lesson today, Mr. Pierce. See you next week? I smiled. Life was good. Different than I'd planned, but good. Dad, Ethan said as we pulled into the driveway of our new house. Can we get a dog? Maybe. What kind? A big one. One that can protect us. We don't need protection anymore, buddy. I know, but it would be cool. I looked at my son, this resilient kid who'd weathered his parents' divorce and come out stronger. He deserved a dog. Let's go to the animal shelter this weekend and see what they have. Really? Really. As we unloaded boxes in our new home, I thought about the past year. I'd lost a wife, but I'd kept my son. I'd lost some friends, but I'd discovered who my real friends were. I'd lost my illusions about marriage and trust, but I'd gained something more valuable: self-respect. I'd learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting back at someone who wronged you. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, raising your kids right, and not letting other people's bad choices define your life. That evening, after we'd unpacked the essentials and ordered pizza, Ethan and I sat on our new front porch watching the sun set. Dad, are you glad Mom left? It was a hard question, but he deserved an honest answer. I'm glad the lying stopped. I'm glad we don't have to pretend everything's okay when it's not. And I'm glad you and I get to start fresh. Me too. But I'm sorry it happened the way it did. I'm sorry you had to see adults behaving badly. It's okay, Dad. I learned stuff. Like what? Like how to tell when someone's lying. Like how to be brave when things are scary. Like how to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. I put my arm around my son. Those are good things to learn. Yeah, and I learned that my dad's pretty tough when he needs to be. I had to be tough. I was fighting for you. I know. Thanks, Dad. As the sun set on our new life, I realized that Chad and Lila had actually done me a favor. They'd forced me to discover what I was really made of. They'd shown me who I could trust and who I couldn't. They'd given me the chance to prove to my son that good guys don't always finish last. Sometimes they finish exactly where they're supposed to be.